Hey guys, this is Danny Boy. So this time around we'll be using the Argus. You get the Argus if you pre-ordered the game, so hopefully they'll release it as DLC for those who missed out. But let's compare it to the Avenger. It weighs about twice as much as the Avenger, a bit lower capacity, much lower fire rate, does a good deal more damage, and even this amount is quite significant for an assault rifle, and it has lower accuracy. The Argus is similar to the Vindicator. It fires in bursts of 3. From the description and experience, this weapon is definitely better at shorter ranges, so it's really the opposite of the Vindicator. It's a short-range assault rifle. So let's try it out at point-blank range. As you can see, the weapon reloads slowly. And this is its maximum rate of fire, so it fires fairly slowly as well. But quite accurate at point-blank range. Certainly can get headshots. Let's try short range. Come back! So firing from the hip. But as you can see, even at short range, this weapon has quite the spread. Headshots really aren't doable, even at short range, and even body shots become problematic, just aiming from the hip. Let's try mid-range. It has an immense kick. Not very good, unfortunately. Very, very poor, even at mid-range, firing from the hip. Not that that's terribly unusual for assault rifles, but still. I have a feeling we have reached this weapon's effective range. Yes, I would say so. Of all of those shots, just a handful. 6 even hit the board, much less the actual target. But, to be thorough, as always, long range. Should be plenty. And terrible. So let us now try point-blank range. Firing with some sights. This weapon also has a pretty predictable vertical spread, similar to the Vindicator when firing with the sights, but that does make it difficult to get all 3 shots on the head, though it seems to be doable at point-blank range, as you see. So, certainly effective at point-blank range. Let's try short range. It's definitely advisable to aim low with this weapon, even at short range. And it might actually be a good idea, even at short range, to just go for body shots. Depending on how much damage an individual shot actually does. But I suppose headshots were actually still effective. We were getting more than 1 shot on target, I think. It's a little hard to tell. But let's move on to mid-range. Now I know headshots are going to be problematic. Even body shots seem to be problematic. Well, headshots are just not doable. Even the first shot doesn't have perfect accuracy. The spread is too wild. And even body shots are starting to become an issue. I mean, we're hitting, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? I suppose that's not too bad. I'm not firing a huge number of shots. Alright, let's move on to mid to long. Let's see the damage. Well, we got all of maybe 4 shots on center mass, and we didn't get any on headshots. So I have a feeling that mid-range is really the maximum effective range of this weapon, at least without a scope. Let's see if it... Well, first let's try long range, then we'll see if scopes make a difference. I'm aiming very low to compensate for the vertical spread. But for the head, it's just not happening. Excuse me. Definitely beyond this weapon's effective range. So I would say mid-range, even with the sights, is this weapon's maximum range for the most part. So now let's throw in a scope. And you can get all 3 shots on the head at point-blank range with the scope, but then again, you're using a scope at point-blank range, which is problematic for many players. But it certainly has good accuracy at point-blank range, but I don't really see a huge difference over sights, really, or even from the hip. Let's try short range. Again, if you hit, you hit. Grouping doesn't matter at point-blank range. And headshots just aren't happening. We're getting 1 or 2. Actually, we were only getting 1 per burst. I see 3 here. Everything else was just totally missing the target, and you really can't compensate for that. Its recoil is just too much. Center mass is fine. Doesn't seem to be benefiting too terribly much from a scope at this point. Interesting weapon. Certainly unique. It reminds me of the incisor. And again, headshots even at mid-range are problematic. 3 bursts, 3 shots, so the other 6 missed. Center mass, we got 6, 7. 7 shots out of 9, I guess, isn't too bad, but I don't think that's an improvement over the sights. Mid to long range. And again, we really have reached this weapon's maximum effective range. Fired beyond mid-range just isn't happening. But to be thorough, we will go to long range. If nothing else, it is fun to see weapons that are just different than others. Not necessarily better, but different. And we did get some headshots and some center mass. Let's do this one more time, just to prove that that was more luck than anything else. Unless this weapon somehow is better at long range than it is at mid to long range. I suppose it is easier to get that first shot, at least on the head, when you have a scope. Even though the other 2 of the bursts are going to miss. Hard to see this right-hand target. Yeah, and that time we really didn't hit unless those very edge shots count, and center mass wasn't terribly good at all. So guys, to summarize, this is the Argus. You really should only be firing it from the hip at point-blank range, and you can get headshots at this range. Its vertical spread isn't that bad, but beyond that, you really should only be aiming for center mass, and you shouldn't be aiming from the hip beyond point-blank. With sights or with the scope, at short range, you should still probably aim for center mass and just aim low because of its vertical spread. Headshots, even at that range, it's very difficult to get more than 1 shot on the head, and at mid-range it's just totally impossible. You should only be aiming for center mass at mid-range. Beyond that, doesn't matter if you have a scope or sights or whatever, it's really not meant for those ranges. It's a close quarters weapon. Use it more as you would use, say, a shotgun, particularly like maybe the Eviscerator. Use it at the same range as you would use an Eviscerator. Alright guys, well, again, this is the Argus. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more, and have a good one.